In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 tips for how you can create your own work-life balance that fits with you, your family, and your business. Hey there, Mom Boss. My name is Becky. I am the owner of Splash Out Media, a digital marketing agency that specializes in Facebook ads. I am also a wife to my college sweetheart, a mom of 3, and I homeschool. I'm a homeschooling mom of all of the above. And so I understand what the struggle means. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button below and so you can get up to date on all of our new videos. And anything that I mention in here that may have a link to it, the link will be in the description. And yes, you heard that correctly. I am a homeschooling mom of 3 and a business owner, and it can happen. It can absolutely happen. So recently, meaning earlier this year, before all of the lockdowns, we moved from our large brand new build home in the suburbs of Austin, Texas, out to the mountains and land of Asheville, North Carolina, where we now own a 30-acre homestead with a house that's probably half the size that we were used to. And we are doing all of the homesteading life. We have a cow, we have chickens, we have dogs, we have cat, we have bunnies, we have a lot more animals that we'll be getting over the next 6 months to a year, but we are doing it all. And we are looking forward to making this transition to have my husband starting his own hydroponics business in the next 2 years too. So we have a lot on our plate, so I kind of know what it feels like to be juggling everything. But as we dive in, I really want to be very honest with you. I don't want you to think that I have like this perfect life, that I have everything put together, because honestly and truly, none of us do. And so I'm going to be very transparent with every single one here, and that I do not have everything together, but I do know what these tips have done for my family and the transition into not only my business, but also pulling my son out in homeschooling for the first time, which was about 3 years ago. So I know that it can happen. I know that sometimes it has to happen. A lot of people did a lot of distance learning or homeschooling that weren't really prepared for that earlier this year. And so hopefully these tips and strategies will help you as you enter this next phase of your business or life. Okay, tip number 1 is to have a schedule and a routine. This is incredibly important for literally, even if you're just a business owner, you could send your kids to school or to daycare or whatever. Having a routine down will help on the chances that, I mean, even while you're building a business. So I always like that to be number 1, because I think that it's the foundation of, kind of us all keeping our sanity. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm probably the only person in our household that actually does all the organization and the schedules and the planning. I love it and I need it in my life. I am an organizer. And I kind of blame the way I was brought up. I am a total army brat. I had a dad who believed that to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is unacceptable. And it was an incredibly structured house growing up. But it almost had to be, because there's 9 of us. I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters, so we really had to be very structured in that. Now, I don't feel like I have room to complain because I only have 3 kids compared to that, but still, it can be very chaotic. I almost think more so, because at least in a big family, we all had someone to interact with and play with. Okay, so as I was becoming a parent myself, I realized I wanted to take some of that I was brought up with, and some things that worked. Of course, we always bring things into our future, our present time or our parenting that we learned growing up, and then we do away with the things that we felt didn't have any benefit. And so as I become a parent, I have brought over that attention to detail as far as like my routine and the schedules and having the kids be on that. Kids thrive with a routine. And people do too. most of us do as well. But I also try to give room to have some grace and some patience there, and that there's, there should be a little bit of wiggle room, because you never know what's going to happen, whether it's a kid being sick or your internet going out, or, stuff just happens, Right now, actually, you can probably hear her kind of pitter pattering. I have a pregnant bunny doe on our bedroom floor because she is sick, and I'm keeping an eye on her. So she's literally in my office. So things really didn't go to plan today, but I'm still, here and showing up and doing the recording that I had put on my calendar, even though, it may be a little chaotic around here. Okay, so that brings me to tip number 2, which is giving yourself some grace. And what I mean by grace is like, understand that you don't have control over every aspect of everything. You can sit there and plan out a really awesome schedule. I kind of look at it like, I don't know if most of you planned out your, how you were going to birth your children, if you are parents. I'm a huge planner. So I planned out like when we were going to have kids, how I was going to deliver them, if I was going to breastfeed or not. I had everything set of how I was going to become a mom. And of course, pregnancy taught me that things just don't go according to plan. And then labor taught me that kids just kind of have a mind of their own, and that doesn't go according to plan. And so you kind of have to back away a little bit if you're a more structured person like I am, and kind of have to let go. It can also be very frustrating when you are so used to things going a certain way, and then one thing after another, and we all have those bad days. So if you can take a step back and understand and realize that this isn't going to be the same tomorrow, this may not even be the same in a couple of hours. So just kind of take a step back and realize that you are doing an amazing job. Give yourself that benefit, and that you can make up whatever this is that's blocking your time up later. And so try to be the problem solver, which, we'll get into here in a second. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is, like earlier I mentioned, you can't control like kids getting sick. Yesterday, I literally, the internet went out for like 2-3 hours, and it was right at the time that this email was supposed to be sent to my list, and I hadn't edited yet to where I wanted it to be. And so, and my copywriter, she was busy dealing with her own kids and taking them to her mom's house and everything. And I was like, crap, I have no way to get in there and fix this. And I was kind of stressed about it. But then I was like, it's one email. Like, I just kind of like had to let it go, because everything was out of my control. There's nothing I could do. And so you kind of have to do that. You gotta have to take a step back. And so in that time period where I was stressing about, the internet being out, like, okay, well, I can't send the email. But then I also can't do all these other things. And it can be really hard to sit there and focus on all those negatives, right? But what I want you to do is take a step back and say, okay, what is something that I can do right now? Like, where can I solve the problem? And so for me, it was, what can I do offline to help my business right now? Because the nanny's already here. This is my working schedule. Like, I have to fit my work hours into this little set of time that I have. And so what do I need to do in this, or what can I do in this block of time where I don't have access to internet? And so thank goodness I was able to like write up blog posts. I was like able to like write up different trainings, fill out my calendar, do like all these little tasks. But it ended up being, 2 hours of work off my plate. And I honestly wasn't distracted because I didn't have the internet. And so it kind of ended up benefiting more than it hurt. And so I kind of just was like, I think my copywriter is more stressed about the email than I was. And she was like, how are you not more stressed? And I'm like, there's nothing we can do. You're on the road. I'm out of internet. Like, there's nothing we can do. So like, why stress about it? And so I kind of like have taken that stance, I guess, becoming a parent, I think has really given me room to like breathe and give myself some grace, and that things are sometimes out of your control and you just have to kind of roll with the punches. Okay, so tip number 3 is have a support system in place. So I know, and I've watched so many other people, no one is where they are today without some sort of support or help. Like, you cannot go at this alone and expect to succeed. And I don't mean that negatively. Look at anyone. Everyone has met someone. There's networking events. There's something helping you propel yourself forward, whether it's in your career or whether it's with your family. Like, there's always someone there, even if they're behind the scenes, that kind of help you get to that next step. So for me, my support system is, of course, my husband. I have a very supportive and loving husband. He is my cheerleader. He's always asking me every day how my business is going, what's on the docket. He loves seeing me come in and tell him about, like, successes that I've had. And then if I'm like really stressed or whatever, I know I can vent to him, even if he doesn't have any clue of what I'm talking about. And he does the same for me, because I have no idea what programming languages are. Like, I mean, I know what they are, but like, I don't know any of them. And so when he comes to me with like programming stuff, I'm like, whew, but I'm here to support you. And so it's, you can still be there to love and support each other. And so the other two people that I have are I call them my business besties. And if you do not have a business bestie, I highly recommend at least getting one or two. And so I have two ladies that I lean on, and we talk on Boxer every single day. It is very odd when we go a day without speaking to each other on Boxer, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I realize I haven't talked to you since like 2 days ago. Like, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? Because we literally talk every day, and it's great to lean on people and talk about, problems that you're having, or you want to brain dump, or you want to like, go through an idea that you have, or you want to vent about a client that you have, or an ad that's just not working out, or you are struggling to get to this thing. And also accountability checks and so much more. Like, they know every aspect of my business and family. Like, we've gotten that close over the years that they are the women that I lean on for all of these other things. And so I highly recommend going out there and finding out who your support system is, because it is going to do wonders for your success later on, and also providing that work-life balance there. So I highly recommend finding your tribe, finding who it is that, can be your support system, and that you can also be theirs, because it's a give and a take in all these relationships. Okay, tip number 4 is hiring the right people. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just add this little caveat to this tip. You may not be in a place where you can actually afford to hire people. And I'm tired of people saying, like, you have to spend money to make money and all this stuff. Like, sometimes people don't have these teams. And I'm going to do a whole nother video on how to go from 0 team to a team, because I feel like I have yet to find a good training that shows that growth. And that's something that I was always struggling with. Like, well, I know I need a copywriter, but I don't have money for that. So now I do have a copywriter, but I feel like that transition took me a little bit longer because I wasn't given those tools and that help along the way. So I'm going to create a separate video for that in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. But for this one, hiring the right people, this can mean when you are ready at that point in your business, which it may come sooner rather than later, you need to hire the right team. And that doesn't mean the cheapest team members. That means the ones that are going to lift up your business. They're going to take ownership of your brand, and they are going to carry it with them. Meaning they are your cheerleaders. They are part of the team. They're excited to work with you. They're excited to get you to that next level, and then the next level, and the next level. This can also mean a nanny or some kind of childcare provider. Now, for us business moms, it is incredibly important that we also have that sort of support there too. Now, I was a homeschooling mom before we were able to even afford a nanny. So I know what that struggle is like. And I have a whole nother, I can go on and on about being a homeschooling mom of 3 and a business owner. But for the sake of like this video and everything, I'm going to stick with like the main points. I'll probably add in some schedules here at the end that will help you go through the process, whether you are just getting started and you are literally juggling everything, or if you are, starting to step up and able to kind of outsource some of that help, then the nanny was the first thing. That's the first thing I invested in, because I was like, I am spending this much time away from my business. And not that it was a bad time wasted because I was being a mom, but it was time that, we had already done the lesson and I was just being like a babysitter at that point. And so to me, that was time away from my business. My kids didn't need me. They would rather go and play outside or watch TV or, play with their toys and stuff. So they didn't really need me, but I couldn't fully work on my business during that time, because then they would come and ask, like, right when you sit in front of your computer, like then they ask like a million questions. So it was more like that. And so I was like, okay, I need this set time to my business and this set time to being a mom. And that was kind of how I had to divide it up, whether it was getting help for that or me doing it on my own. So hiring a nanny was the first investment that we made. And then since then, it was almost like my business grew overnight, which it didn't. I did a lot of work leading up to that. But once I had a nanny, I was like immediately focused and driven. Not, I was always focused, but like, you know what I mean? Like you have, you're more productive, I feel like, because you know what the struggle was like to just try to find that time. And now you're given that time. You're like, okay, time to go, because I know I have a limited amount of time for this person to be here and be taking that load off my plate. I'm going to take advantage of that and get stuff done. And so you kind of have to have that mindset. And then the next phase of my business, I hired someone to do my social media management because I suck at it. I am horrible at, I will just be very honest. I am not very good at Instagram, y'all. That is just something that I love scrolling through Instagram. I like looking at everyone else's feeds, but when it like, what are you going to post today? I'm like, it's like crickets in my head. So I ended up hiring a social media manager to deal with that. And then copywriter. I hired a copywriter. She's absolutely wonderful. I am terrible at email. And so I can literally Voxer her and say everything that I want to say, or make like little like bullet point notes of what I want to hit on this week with my list, or tell them about whatever trainings are coming out. And then she writes it up and makes it look all pretty and, uses the right words. And then I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then it's one other thing that's off of my plate and off of my shoulders. Okay, the final tip is about self-care. And I honestly think that this should be tip number 1, but I wanted to save the best for last, because as moms, we have the hardest time in like taking time for ourselves, right? We put all this energy and effort and just so much into our businesses and relationships and family and children and the house and all of this stuff. And we load so many things on our plate that we don't think to take care of ourselves along the way. And I mean, I'm the last one to ever go to the doctor when I'm sick, because I'm busy taking care of everyone else. Like, I know that struggle, it really lands a lot of the times on the mom's shoulders. So I am telling you right here and right now, you really need to take time for yourself and to have some kind of self-care part of your schedule, and put it on your schedule so you don't forget to do it. Because like everything else I mentioned, we tend to say what we want to do or what we need to do as a last resort. And so, and I'm getting better about this too, you guys. Like, I'm not just, speaking, preaching it, I'm actually doing it. So I'm making it part of my schedule every single week to take time for myself, whether it's 30 minutes of meditation, or getting my hair and nails done, or taking a 30-minute bath. Like, you don't need to spend a whole lot of money on self-care. Just think about like what you like doing, what relaxes you, what's something that can just kind of like pull away from all the stress, and that you don't have to do a responsibility for anyone else but yourself in that moment. And I mean, it could be seriously as small as 30 minutes. And I highly recommend doing this. It kind of helps you filter through everything, and it makes you happier. Like that's just it, that's what it is. It makes you happier. It makes you more full when you pause and you can relax. All right, ladies. So what tip was your favorite, or do you have something that you would like to add? If so, please comment below and let us know. And if you have any questions or you want to see a specific video, please feel free to reach out to me directly or comment below as well. All right, take care.